This is part 2 of a series of videos in which I am attempting to restore and bring back to life this old oscilloscope. As you can see, I have just removed the CRT since while I was cleaning I found this clamp broken, which I believe to be the CRT rotation in order to adjust the trace alignment, and I have removed all the front panel knobs except this one. Since this is very loose, is okay, but the small grain inside is completely rusty, so it's hard to take them out. So what I'm going to do is to clean this CRT, put aside, and see the result of the cleaning of the power supply, the low voltage power supply deck. Well, before I will put this in a safe place, I wish to show you something that is interesting. The tube itself, it has been manufactured in England on June the 20th on 1963 or 5 maybe. It's not really visible. And the model, which is very difficult to see, is ST503. Cannot see very easily. However, look how it is beautiful inside. That's fantastic. It seems a rocket. So let me put this aside and see the cleaning process as how is going on. This is the result of the low voltage power supply deck cleaning, and I'm not expecting to be perfect. There are oxidation signs on the aluminum frame, and the capacitors, they are very bad corroded at the bottom, and those that are with the insulated cans are pretty bad. However, it's not too bad, it's acceptable. I have removed all the vacuum tubes and labeled one by one and put in a relevant more small box. So those I don't have the right box, so I just have labeled the valve itself. What I'm going to do is to attempt capacitor reforming with knit kit capacitor checker and see if we can have any success. I really don't believe that I will, so for sure that those capacitors should be replaced or maybe restuffed. If I can do it, I will really would like it, since I really don't like to see capacitors around as a non-standard position, so I don't like it. I would prefer to give the original look as much as possible. So let's take the capacitor checker and then see if we can have some success. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove one wire from the capacitor, plug the Heathkit capacitor tester, put on leakage, and then rise up the voltage while looking the tuning eye. That should indicate that the capacitor is draining current, and then when it will open, it is going to has been charged. This process should reform the capacitor itself. what I've seen that there are these 4 tabs here which could allow me to restuff the capacitors if they need, and should not be very difficult to open it up. There is just one that is soldered with a solder blob, but should not be very difficult. So there are a lot of capacitor to test. Look at that, many. There are other under there, and then there are some other on the other decks. So let's try the first one. I'm going to rise up the voltage. So here we are very low, at least it's not completely shorted. So we are at 10 volts. The capacitor is rated at 450 volt. Okay, it's starting to drain a bit, 25 volts. So let's go up to, okay, 50 volts. Okay, it's charging and almost quickly. Not too bad actually. 100 volts. Quite okay, bit of time. Okay, I will go ahead with the process and see if we can reach the 450 volt, which is the voltage that is rated this capacitor. Okay, I'm to the last step. Let's see the behavior. So from 400 to 450 volt. The eye is closed. Let's see if he's able to open up. He will take a, okay, yes, it's okay. So first capacitor is okay. I will leave to run for a while in order to get it as much as possible reformed, and I will do this process to all the other capacitors, and I will just come back on camera when I will find something interesting. Otherwise I will skip the process since it's very boring and time consuming. Okay, we got a problem here. This is the second capacitor that I'm going to reform, and actually is there are 2 capacitors in parallel, and it's quite a while that is on 50 volts, is not able to open it up. So this is 25 volts. As soon as I switch to 50 volt, it is not able to charge the capacitors. The capacitance of those capacitors in parallel is around 300 microfarad, which is almost the double of this one, but is not able to rise up. So I will separate the 2 capacitors and see if one is salvageable or not, but I believe that it would be nice to replace both of them. So let's see the result. Okay, I came back to the first one because I want also to check the capacitance. The capacitor is 125 and we are really on C external scale. So 100, well, it's quite good. Yeah, it's okay. So let's go ahead with the check of those 2 capacitors. Well, before to give up on the capacitor reforming that was not able to open the eye on this one, I took my Sprague, the model I can't really, okay, it's over there, TO6, which is capable to read the leakage current. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rise up the voltage, and as I touch this, the current is increased, but then drop down. So what I want to do is to reach the maximum of this range, which is 60 volt, and see if it can drop down. If you can recall, on this one, on 50 volt, was not able to open the eye. So I wish to have, actually we are on 600 microamps full scale, so we are at 100 microamps current. So I would like to say that I would like to stay in the range of 1 or 2 on this scale after the charge of the capacitor. So let's see if we can achieve that result over the 50 volt scale. Maybe I will have to switch. So I'll come back when I will have the result. Well, good news. I left this capacitor checker make its work, and we are at 250 volt and the eye is open, and that was the completely leaking capacitor that seems to be reformed. So if I discharge and then wait to let the eye open, then I get the leakage directly on this voltage. It will take around 20 seconds, but it will come back and open. So I think that if I will leave something more, the capacitor will be completely reformed. So yeah, it's about yeah, just open now. Yeah, the capacitor is back functional, I believe. It's a bit very slow in time, but can be used. So that's very fine. While I'm continuing the process of capacitor reforming, and this is the last one that has just been reformed, unfortunately C730 were not possible to get reformed. So I managed to remove it from its insulation made with paper, and this is the cover. And as you can see, there is a nasty leakage and bulge on the top of it. So I managed to remove this by just rolling in my hand and breaking the glue that has molded together. So now I will attempt to restuff, but unfortunately I don't have in my hand the capacitor to drop in. So, well, I believe, however, that I will cut the top. There is a rubber cover, and then I will remove all the internal and restuff with the new capacitor. So let's see what's happening. I've managed to open the top, and as you can see, it is fully clogged by salt. So this capacitor, as expected, is completely unusable, and indeed it was the one with a lot of residuals around the paper, so that was expected. Now I'm going to remove all the internal materials and see if we can restuff in some way. This is the result of the cleaning of the inside. I'm not sure that you can see, but there are 4 holes in the bottom shield or insulation. So it seems that we have 1 hole in the bottom shield across the 4 sides here. I managed to remove all the internal, and I also have cut this. I will reuse this terminal, but since this is made with aluminum, this is an aluminum wire and was attached to this aluminum tab, which was connected to the twisting of the capacitor. But since we cannot make a solder on the aluminum, I just cut in order to have this free. Of course, I can't pass through it. And I will reuse this as the positive terminal. Then I will drill a small hole in the hole that is already drilled in the insulation back over there. Down, you can see now. So it will appear another hole here that no need to be insulated, since it will be the ground terminal, and then I will solder to one of these tabs. So it seems that can be fine. I have a bit restuffed this. Of course, it's a bit damaged. You know, it's very damaged because of the leakage. As you can see, there is the leakage signs from the capacitor. This still need to be cleaned, but this is, I believe, a good result in the end, since this will fit over and everything will be closed. So good enough. And as you can see, to reach the very hidden capacitor, I have removed some components from the ceramic terminal strips, since it was not possible to reach them. And I'm going to finish actually, since I'm on the last capacitor to be reformed. This is the last one that is on 500 volts. Actually, the capacitor is rated at 475. But if I can, I go a little bit over. That should get a better reforming to the capacitor itself. So I think that's it for this video. On the next one, I will go ahead with the restuff of this capacitor, and meanwhile I will check all the tubes, and of course I will do off camera, since it's a very boring process. So in the next video I will attempt to maybe try to get some power on it. Well, of course I have to, before to do that, I have to restore a bit the cooling fan. So thanks for watching, and see you very soon.